Strong Dads wants to thank Quality Auto Mart for joining us as a sponsor. Quality Auto Mart was born in 1985. They are owned and operated by Mark and Nancy Repke. Quality Auto Mart provides all the services, repairs, and maintenance for your vehicle's needs with a 3-year auto parts and labor warranty. They offer complimentary vehicle safety inspection and estimates. Also, they offer a shuttle service, and the 4th oil change is always on them. They are located at 7307 on State Road 46 in Batesville, Indiana. Make sure you give them a call at 812-934-2301.
Welcome to Strong Dads. This is Merle Hutchinson being joined by Kyle Crawford, and we are fired up today.
We're ready to go. You know, it's taken us about 2 hours to get down here to start recording. Linda's yelling at us because we're upstairs.
I refer to it as foreplay. You know, I mean,
Linda said we can't say that.
Well, I mean, we had to have conversation just to get our brains going.
We were working.
You know,
we were working
it's
upstairs.
part of it.
Yeah.
I mean, why is that such a bad thing?
Yeah, it shouldn't be. I like it.
It's not. We're getting it done. All right.
Anyways, how you doing today?
I'm pretty good. Yeah, how about you?
Good. I'm done with this weather. I'm done with the cold weather. I'm done.
You sound like me.
Let's go springtime. I'm ready.
You sound like me. Yeah, so as a fireman, as we record this, we've just come off of a week of the coldest temperatures we've seen.
Yeah.
I think maybe in our lifetime or real close to it. How's fighting fire in this kind of stuff?
It's cold. It's luckily you're completely covered up, but except for like this small little area before you put your mask on your face, and it gets cold.
Yeah.
It gets cold, and the captain's in there. It's like, hey, when we're in there, we might just hold off on putting the fire out for a second. Let's get a little warmed up. I'm kidding. So no, it's good.
Hey guys, come over here. Let's put your hands out there.
And it's sad because where I work at, we have a large homeless population, and they take refuge in these houses, and then they make these little makeshift fires, and we get called, and they're nothing of significance, but you feel bad. You got to put it out, and it's like, if we don't, it could turn into a whole house fire, and obviously, so we have to put these out. And man, you just see like there's a life literally get taken out of their face when you put their fire out. Like they're warm. This is their furnace, and it's just you put that out, and it's like, oh my gosh, I'm sorry. Like we have to, and we'll chase you all over the city if you go house to house and just keep starting fires. And so,
I mean, do you give them something to a free
something?
shelter?
We have a woman's homeless shelter and a man's homeless shelter, and it's sad because these people are together, and the woman's homeless shelter does not accept men for obvious reasons. We get a lot of battered women that go into these shelters, and so they don't accept men, so they literally have to split up.
So
there is refuge in the sense of taking refuge at a warmer place, but it's sad because you essentially have to break the family up in a roundabout way. But in the same sense, we can't allow them to squat in these houses and start fires. Yeah,
that is crazy. Yeah. That's something you just learned something, guys. I mean, this is kind of real life stuff that you see on a regular basis, and here we sit in a pretty cozy, comfortable place, but not everybody has it that way.
That's right. That's right.
All right. Well, okay, so let's move into what we're doing.
All right, let's do it.
All right. So last show we talked about, well, how did you do in 2022? And it's time to assess how the year went. And so we talked about the game film. You get one day to watch game film, and you get to see some things you did well, but you also get to see things you didn't do so well. You dropped the ball, you fumbled, you didn't catch your block, whatever it is. You made mistakes, and that's important to do. Not for the sake of beating yourself up, but for the sake of not repeating what you have been doing, so that you can better yourself for the next game. And so the next game, as we're calling 2023, is quickly approaching us. And so I think it's important that, if you want the best in your life and for your family and your workplace and everything, you have to be conscious about it, right? You have to be intentional and just create some motivation behind it. So anyway, the question is, if you keep doing what you did this past year, what's it going to produce in this new year? And if you're like, man, I'm on a roll, things are good in my world, well, then keep doing it. No sense in fixing something that's not broke.
That's right.
But if you're not where you want to be, and you and I have had quite a few shows here recently where you struggled this year just with some job stuff, but you're turning the corner on a different mindset, a different approach. And it's really crazy how you're doing that when your environment really is not changing.
Right. Well, last show we talked about this idea of like a 500 season, that mediocre season, right? And I think the same can be said. I mean, we're in the midst of the NFL season right now as we talk. There's not a single football team that's out there that started the season like, I want to go 500.
Right.
None of them start that way. Every single time they start the season, I want to win the Super Bowl, right? That's the goal, for them going into the season. They put a lot of time and effort and blood, sweat, and tears to prepare themselves to get to a place where they feel like their team is proficient enough to hopefully make it to the Super Bowl. And, man, I think that, along with you guys out there, my hope is 2023 that we can go to the Super Bowl, right? I don't want to repeat the mediocre of years past that there's been those failures. And, again, just what you were talking about, the game feels, I think is so important, because if you don't know that was a failure, if you can't look back and see, okay, I didn't do as good as I should have, or I was just kind of like right there in the middle of the line, then, man, like, where are you going to go? There has to be that recognition that there was the failure, that what you were doing was not working. So let's do something to make it different.
Yeah. So we are going to help you guys today talk about.
You okay?
I'm getting choked up again. How we're going to actually make 2023 better. And this is not going to be your typical, well, you need to set goals and all that, because I'm going to tell you that oftentimes does not work well.
Yep.
So we're going to approach it completely differently, and we're going to show you why it works when you approach it differently like this. So let's thank some sponsors first. Let's thank, you want to do quality?
I'm going to do quality.
You do quality.
All right. Strong Dads, we would love to thank Quality Auto Mart for coming alongside of us. Nancy and Mark, thanks so much for being an awesome supporter of Strong Dads. Check them out. They got an awesome facility. Any of your auto mechanic needs, let them know we sent you up there. We really do appreciate them.
All right. Want to thank Casey's Outdoor Solutions for sponsoring the Strong Dads podcast. So for all your outside landscaping needs, as well as your inside decoration and just home decor, check out Casey's Outdoor Solutions and Gift Shop. They can set you up. Really a super cool place. If you're just bored on a day of sort, Sunday afternoon, drive by Casey's, because you'll be wowed by just how his place is set up.
For sure.
All right. So let's get into our show here. The idea of, I wish I had $1 for every time I said I was going to set a new goal.
Yep.
And it didn't get any traction.
Yeah,
I'd be in trouble. How about you?
Well, as you're saying that, obviously, I know you're the fitness guy here between the two of us, which is not very hard to do between the two of us. But
come on.
But I do think of, I've heard before, gyms would be like, we love this time of year, because everyone's getting gym memberships, and then come February, their gyms are empty because, exactly what you said. People set these high goals, and then, nothing ever comes of them. And then come February, it's like we're a month into the new year. And I think that's kind of part of where this, show like this stems from, just the idea of setting these goals and then nothing comes of them.
Yeah. So, I've said before, like the goal thing, it's not that goals in and of themselves are bad.
Right.
So we don't want to get that message out like, oh, you set a goal that you just screwed up. No, but goals are not what gets you what you want. Right. Instead, like, we have to look at something completely different. And so what I've done over my years is I've seen some pretty successful people, and some things that I see with them are things that are not necessarily goal oriented. They are lifestyle things. They are habit things.
Yeah.
And so these are people who just naturally maybe get up early, naturally work out, naturally just eat well, naturally pray often. They just, when I say naturally, meaning it is part of their lifestyle fabric.
Right.
So what we're going to really talk about today is get out of the goal mindset, and let's take a look at your habits and see, well, what kind of habits do you have in life? When I talk about a habit, like something that you do and is predictable in you on a regular basis. One habit I have, good, bad, or indifferent, is I get up and pretty much before I say much to anyone, I brew a cup of coffee. All right. Yep. And so I've been doing that for many years now. By the way, I'm 59. I didn't start drinking coffee till I was 37. And I remember, like, I was drinking all kinds of other garbage. It might have been a diet soft drink or something. And I was like, oh man, this stuff's garbage. I shouldn't be doing this. And so I wasn't a big fan of coffee. And so I said, like, I need a morning drink. I'm going to start drinking coffee.
Yep.
And so, like, I bought a coffee maker, Mr. Coffee.
Yeah,
It wasn't a Keurig, anything like that.
I still don't have one of those.
Yeah. And so, I just created the habit of making coffee every morning, and now I'm addicted.
Yep. Well, as you're talking about this idea of habits, speaking of coffee, this is a recent change in 2022. I didn't even bring this up in our last show. I had a little episode where I had to realize the realization that my coffee drinking and my soda consumption was actually causing some health.
You almost died.
I had some heart fluttering going on, and now I have created a new habit which is bizarre to me because I have set lofty goals when it comes to what I consume beverage wise and wanting to okay, let's do no pop at all, and I try and go cold turkey, and then I fail at that, and I set these goals, and I've quickly realized that I just need to take a step back and let's make some habits. So instead of drinking regular coffee, I drink decaf now, and I know I get one of these in the morning, one at night, and then the pop I drink one Dr. Pepper for dinner. And as we're going to talk about in this show, those habits, if when you do fall short of those and something else comes up, I have my golf trip every year. I'm like, I'm going to splurge on my golf trip. That's the time, But if it's like you set these goals and then you have a setback in the sense of, okay, you don't uphold that goal and you're like, crap, now I'm a failure, right?
Right.
If I wake up one morning, I forget to brush my teeth, it's not the end of the world because I've set that as a habit that I know I get to go back to it the next day. I'm going to make sure that that's something I do. So I think we'll obviously get into that a little bit.
Yeah, well, and what you talk about there is so important because I work with people to lose weight sometimes in our gym and stuff. And when people come in and they say, I need to lose 20 pounds, I love that they desire to do that.
Right.
But the problem is they'll set that 20 pounds or whatever is a goal. And I just can't even tell you, Lynn and I just had this conversation about a friend of ours. And it's really kind of sad because they've always struggled with weight. And they would always have these major goals to lose significant weight. Like losing weight is hard for me.
Yeah.
And they would lose lots of weight. And 3 months, 6 months later, they're right back where they were.
Yeah.
But it's really sad because of the amount of work they put into achieving the goal.
Yeah.
But once they get the goal, all things reset back to, okay, I can relax now. And so they never quite make the lifestyle change, the habit change. And so one of the difficult things to do, but it's actually the long-term sustaining thing to do is, hey, I like that you have this goal, but how about on a regular basis, we just make some lifestyle changes? How about every day we just get out and we walk a mile? And again, maybe it might be 500 yards. It might be something, smaller, but the idea that every day we're going to do a little bit towards this. So like for me, exercise. So every day I'm dropping at least 20 minutes into exercise. And some days it might not look like exercise to you. It might just be being busy. But in my mind, I'm like, no, I'm doing activity right now.
Right.
And so it's a minimum. It is a minimum of what I will do in that day that keeps the habit alive.
Yeah.
And so then, most days I'm out doing much more than the 20 minutes. But hey, at least today I got that walk in.
Yeah.
Okay. So that becomes the lifestyle choice. And basically the lifestyle says, this is showing you what I value. Yeah. Lifestyles will, if you want to know what somebody values, just look at their lifestyle.
Yeah.
Right. And so this is why this is important. Like if I'm valuing fitness or financial freedom or whatever, then it is going to be the small incremental things that we do every day that keep it important to us. And I want to just reiterate what you just said about like the brushing of the teeth. Okay. I've never met a kid, a little kid, 3, 4, 5, 6-year-old kid that goes, I can't wait to brush my teeth today. Yep. But every day as parents, brush your teeth, brush your teeth, brush your teeth. And they eventually do get that habit. And then, for whatever reason, that one day they forget or they skip or they miss. it's not like they'll lose everything.
Right.
They know, oh no, this is what I do.
Yeah.
And they'll go back to it. Yep. So
yeah, and I think, part of this idea of creating these new habits and the hope for, starting out the new year, start to incorporate some of these habits. Man, sometimes, and I'm sure you can attest to this, when you have people that come in, they set these huge lofty goals, just like you were saying with the idea of losing weights, and it's just, man, let's take a step back and realize, in order to create habits, we talk all the time when we're training people in the fire service. I can't teach you how to fight fire unless I first take a step back and teach you, hey, this is the hose line. This is what a hose line looks like. So it's one step at a time. We talk all the time, this idea of you have to crawl, you have to learn to crawl, then you have to learn to walk, then we can get into the run phase, right? But if I try and just teach you how to run right away and you have no idea how to crawl, you're gonna fail. I'm setting you up for failure. And I think the same can be said about our habits. Like we have to realize that our habits have to be one step at a time. It's gonna be a progression in order to get to where it does become a habit. No kid wakes up every day, like you said, wanting to go brush their teeth. But over a long period of time of that continuous, one step at a time, today I'm going to wake up, I'm going to brush my teeth. Then you do that for X amount of number of days. Then it becomes that habit.
Right. Yeah. So, like I've trained people to run their first 5K.
Yeah.
And they've never run before. And so look, I want to run a 5K. I want to do a 5K, or even, I want to run a marathon. Okay. No. That's not how we're going to talk. We're not going to talk that way.
Yep.
What we're going to do is we're going to make sure that each day you have a certain amount of space in your day where you're going to do something that looks like running.
Yep.
It might be walking. And so, you know what? At 9 o'clock every day, that's when I throw my gym shoes on and I go out for a walk.
Yep.
And when you build that, then you start to feel more comfortable with, today I'm gonna jog a little bit of this. All right, it might be from telephone pole to telephone pole, or mailbox to mailbox, or whatever it is. And then you start to no, this is what I do every day. I get out and I walk. And what I'm finding myself doing is sometime during those walks, I'm actually starting to jog or run a little bit. And that's where the confidence comes from of you being able to say, oh, this isn't that big of a deal. And now we're ready to do the 5K.
Yeah.
Okay. And the same thing goes with the marathon. Obviously, that's a whole lot more.
Yeah.
But it really is that it's that one step at a time every time. It's every day, one step at a time.
Yep. So let's get into this idea of hopefully, let's start to talk about developing these habits. So kind of moving through this show, what do you kind of, jotted down some things, which I think are pretty cool. I think it'll be good conversation, this idea of, describing, kind of what you love and then what you absolutely hate in your life and how that can kind of like, snowball into something of benefit when creating these habits.
Yeah. So to get started, like this is like I said a little bit ago, this is lifestyle is all about values. It's all about the values that you determine that you're going to have in your life. And so if you want to really wrap your head around like what values are, you really have to I'll use the word love and hate, okay, just randomly because they kind of make sense to most of us when we listen to it. You want to be talking in terms of what you love in your life and what you hate in your life. And I want them to be very diametrically opposed, like love and hate, because I have to have that strong of a connection to either attracting it or pushing it away, rejecting it, okay? So like I might make a statement like, I love my family being strong and happy and healthy. I love when they're that way. And so because that's what I love, then that's what I'm going to go after. Or the opposite would be, I hate when there's conflict in my house. I absolutely hate when there's conflict in my house. Okay. So I love feeling fit and strong.
Right.
Man, that's what I love, feeling fit and strong. Okay. Or I hate being fat. All right. And I want you to use, when you're talking in the hate, I want you to use those politically incorrect words. Okay. Like that whole idea of, oh, well, you shouldn't refer. No. If you don't want it in your life, frickin' call it what it is.
Yeah.
Okay. I hate being fat. Yeah. I hate feeling like a slob because the danger is in the gray. The danger is in the gray area. Because the gray area is sort of that comfortable pain. Well, at least I'm not as fat as I was last year.
Yep.
well, at least our family's, does better than their family. That's just garbage.
Yeah.
I mean, that leads you to the 500 season that we talked about last week in our show. So your very first thing is to go through and sort of pick those main things that you want right now in your life. And Dave Ramsey, he talks about snowball, paying off snowball debt. And he says you start with the small things, and then you slowly pay those little things off, and you take all that money and go to the next big debt and the next big debt until finally you're left with like the house payment or whatever, okay?
Yeah.
When you're talking about lifestyle, I actually like to work it the opposite way.
Okay.
I want to go after the big things first.
Okay.
Because if I don't have the big things established, like what's really important in my life, if I don't establish those, it's going to be all the little clutter that keeps me from getting to what's really important in my life. Okay. And so right off the bat, I'm going to say in my life, these are the big ticket items. Maybe it's health, maybe it's faith, maybe it's family, but I'm going to name the big ticket items. And then, how my wardrobe looks, that stuff's like, oh yeah, well, fine, but that's not a deal breaker. I'll put that down the road in terms of me having energy to put into it. Okay. But with the big ticket items, you talk about how you love a certain direction and way of that, and then what you would hate or despise. Does that make sense?
Yeah. And as you were talking about that, it made me think. There's a professor at a college, and he's got a video online. Check it out. And I'm not trying to steal his information. This is totally him. I just don't know a name or anything. But he actually has a big jar, big clear vase jar, and he has a bunch of items kind of scattered all over the room. And these are like they're symbolizing different parts of your life. And he's got like these big rocks, and he's got some small marbles. He's got water, and he's like, if we want to try and put all these items into this jar representing your life, what items do you start with? And everyone seems to think, okay, let's put the sand or the small pebbles in first. And then all of a sudden this fills up, and there is no room for the big stuff. What you're talking about. You start with the big items. Those are the items that have to fit. We know that these things have to fit inside this thing we call life. And if we don't, then we're going to be utterly miserable, right? Yes, we can sprinkle in the sand and the small little pebbles. They do have a spot. They can kind of like creep down into the nooks and crannies of this your life. But we have to focus in on these large things that you're talking about. As we were talking about that, Merle, I started thinking about this idea, and this is something that I had actually referenced in the show that I did by myself when it comes to my job. Setting absolutes, setting things that are non-negotiable. When it comes to this idea of creating habits, you have to have non-negotiable things that you will not concede on, because if you do, then that's where you're going to start to fail. Like, you have to have non-negotiable things that I've heard this a ton of times with guys that I work with. I've probably said these things myself. I want to get in shape. And instead of just finishing your sentence there's always the but. There's always the next thing, right? Okay, we have to learn to get out of that idea. We have to have this idea of absolutes. I want to get in shape. Period. End of story. That is an absolute. If that's what you want to do, then make it an absolute in your life. Don't say I want to get in shape, but it has to be on my terms. It has to be when it's convenient for me. When I'm okay. When it gets warm out, then I'll start to run. No, if you want to get in shape, if that's something that you desire, that you want to create that as a habit for you, then make the absolute. Don't have the but at the end of your statement. Yeah.
So basically, the absolutes or the non-negotiables are cleaning out the gray.
Yep.
We're getting rid of the gray area.
Yep.
And so you might think that that's like, well, that's over the top. No, it's not. I mean, you do it all the time. Like, I absolutely am not going to go down the street and shoot somebody.
Right.
Why wouldn't you do that? Because it's absolutely wrong. Like, it just doesn't make sense to do that. How about this? Like, I absolutely would never cheat on my wife. All right. I absolutely would never have extended credit card debt. Like, in other words, I'll pay it off every month, or I won't even own a credit card. I absolutely. And so people are so soft in these areas. Listen, I know for myself my danger spots. I've talked many times about sugar. And so I either have to absolutely kick sugar out of my life, or if I let it in a little bit, it'll be a lot of it. Okay. And that's my deal. The deal here is, you can only allow gray in areas that are not significant to you. Okay. So, if an area is not, like, if you don't struggle, let's just go back to the sugar. If you don't struggle with sugar, then gray is okay. Like, if once in a while you decide that you're going to eat a piece of cake and you really, don't even crave it that much, and you never struggle with it, then you can live in the gray in that area.
Right.
It's perfectly fine because it's not abused.
Right.
But in areas that you struggle with, you have to define the absolutes, the non-negotiables.
Yep. And we're obviously, this is Strong Dads here. In 2023, if being an active role, an active member of your kid's life is something you have failed at before or continue to fail at, put a non-negotiable.
Yep.
Put a non-negotiable on that exact statement that you are going to play an active role. You're going to be an involved member of your kid's life. Like, make that a change. That is a huge rock that needs to be put in that vessel or into your life. You know, again, going back to that point that I was making about the professor before. Like, if that's something for you, don't overlook that. Here we talk all the time about the importance of being involved. That's the whole reason why this show exists.
Right.
Is for that exact reason. If that is something you have failed at before, that you're 50-50, you're a 500 season on, put a non-negotiable on it. You will be an active member of your kid's life 100%.
Yeah. Well, let's help with that whole idea. There could be other areas, but these are 6 areas that I know with the men that I work with, that these are in some fashion the big rocks that you're speaking of. Okay. Yep. So write these down. These are 6 areas that if you don't put a check on them, if you don't at least have some conversation within your head about what they're going to look like, you're going to find yourself struggling. Okay. The 6 areas are your life values. Okay. The life values of how you're going to operate on a daily basis. Okay. What's important to you, what's not important to you, just name them. And a lot of these have terms like trust, honesty, integrity, okay, like the things that you value in other people, okay?
Yep.
The second thing is you need to make a statement about relationships, right? Whether you are an introvert or an extrovert, unless you're living on the moon, relationships are important, okay? Yep. Now, that doesn't mean you have to be buddies and friends with everyone. It means, what are the relationships that you want in your life, and how do you want them to go? And so what are you going to do to actually take care of those relationships? So define the relationships. The next thing is health. You know, I've dealt with a lot of people who have not been healthy. And in particular, this year, we've lost several family members, and, more difficult is I've watched family members lose their abilities. So they're still functioning and being alive, but they're not healthy enough to be strong. And so they're a shell of themselves. And so, if you're not healthy, you're not going to be able to live the life that you would desire, whether it's to travel, whether it's to go to work, whether it's to love your kids, whether it's to be active. Like, you have to have a level of health that allows you to live the life that you want. The next area is faith. And I've said this many times. I don't care if you're an atheist. Everyone has faith. Define your faith for yourself. Whether if you're so weak that it's just faith in you, good luck. Okay. Yep. And I say that not to be a smart aleck. I'm just telling you, I have failed me so many times that I know that faith in self is not good enough. All right. And so, but define your faith. And where did you get it? And how did you develop it? And this is something that I love to do all the time. I'm constantly listening to other people talk about faith, whether it's in podcasts or whatever. And then I read, I am Christian. You and I both, Kyle, are Christian, because that's a faith that we have seen so much substance to. Yep. All right. Physical needs. This is a big rock that you deal with. Physical needs, your food, water, shelter. Like, how's it all working for you? Are you happy with the environment that you live in? Literally, the physical environment, your home, your work setting. These are things that you've got to make a statement on. All right. And then the last one, which we've done entire shows on before, your emotional needs. I've talked about the 8 essential emotional needs. If you don't have some thought in these areas about, like, well, what do they actually mean to you? And by the way, here are those 8 emotional needs. They are control, respect, love, trust, security, affection, purpose, and faith. All right? Those are, every person has a need, a necessity to have something in those areas of understanding, like they have a control for them, they have security for them, they have purpose for them. And so anyway, these are the 6 areas that I know in my life. These are the big rocks. And I have to make a statement like, well, you know what? In my life, like, this is what I think is important. And you define them. When you start to define them, you will start to see your lifestyle, your habits, then get formed around those. Yeah. Oh, if I say these are important, then this is what I need to start to do. Yeah. And it's no longer work. It's just what you do.
Yeah. Now, like with those 6, man, as I'm thinking of those, just how much if you continue to make those a habit and incorporate, those changes in your life, that making those absolutes in your life, how much easier, again, not that it's going to be pain-free. There's still obviously, things that go along with other parts of your life, the smaller pebbles that, using that analogy again, but just how much easier it can be to create different habits of the smaller stuff. If we can take these big rocks, these big ticket items in our life and make the absolutes in those, man, it's just a trickle-down effect that the smaller stuff, whatever, like you were talking about your fashion, whatever, how much easier some of those can actually, we can begin to incorporate new habits kind of in your life. I don't know if I'm making sense, but I just see these big 6 items as crucial items to take care of those first, those big things, put those in your life jar first and make those the absolutes. And I think everything else will take care of themselves.
It does. It starts to fill in, and you start to say, well, I'm not really going to put energy into this or that because it really is meaningless in my big picture thing. Okay, the last, not the last, the 6th item thing that in terms of to get it right and building your new habit is, when do you start this? Mm-hmm. I'll start Monday next week. Yeah. Right?
Always Monday or always beginning of the year.
Right. And so that's garbage too.
Yeah.
Right? That's garbage because you are speaking or listening to a master procrastinator. Yeah. Okay? And because I know that I am lazy at my core and can procrastinate, especially on things that desire energy out of me, you have to start now. You start now. And what I mean by that is, like, I'm not going to sit down and create all this plan and then say, well, I'll start this down the road. No, I start doing this today. Yeah. Right? And again, it's not like it's a wow moment. It's like, no, I've defined all of these things for myself. I'm doing these things today. I'm really careful with doing things like this. Like, I'm going to start walking 3 days a week. That's not going to work. It's not going to work. That's a goal, and it's not going to work. And the reason why it's not going to work is because you have 4 other days of the week that will distract you, detract you, will do all kinds of other things. And you'll do 3 days a week for a while if you're disciplined, okay? But instead, rather than you saying 3 days a week, I'll do a mile each day, how about let's do 200 yards every day? Yeah. I mean, just because of the consistency and the patterns, right? That's what we're looking for. So you have to be really careful. It doesn't mean like, hey, if I'm going to go out and every day I'm going to walk, but maybe every other day I say I'm going to throw a jog in the middle of my walk. Hey, I've already got my time set up, so I can throw a little bit of jog in there, right? So again, you just have to be really careful with how you're approaching this. I want it more daily rather than, periodically.
Yep, and I think that just drives home this idea that the lifestyle is more important than actually the perfection that comes along with whatever habits or goals you're setting. Similar to what I was saying, this idea, if I miss brushing my teeth one time in the morning, that's obviously falling short of perfection, right? I didn't brush my teeth this morning, right? But because there's been that habit, there's been that lifestyle that I have made, then it's not a big deal, right? We're naturally human beings. There's going to be failures associated with it, but I think that if you're setting a goal of being, whatever, I'm going to work out, like you said, three miles a day, and all of a sudden, you wake up and you were talking about 3 miles, for the week. When you wake up and all of a sudden you got those, okay, day one, I'm not going to wake up, whatever, I'll get to at the end of the week. And all of a sudden the end of the week comes and you're like, I have 3 days left. I have to run 3 miles, right? That's where you have failed to create create that lifestyle change, and now you're setting those goals. And I just think it just, again, using the brushing your teeth, going back to that, because it is something that we have done for years and years and years, and it's now a lifestyle change. So when you do fall short, it's not that big of a deal. It's easy to go back to.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think the perfection is a trap. I think I even am cautious. You'll hear a lot of guys talking like, I always shoot for excellence. I shoot for excellence. I'm just really careful with that, because sometimes when you talk that way, people confuse excellence with perfection. And as soon as they screw up, they're on this diet and all of a sudden they fall off the bandwagon one weekend and they throw their hands up because perfection is no longer achievable. I used to do, back in my running days, me and a buddy of mine would always go on running streaks. How many days have you gone?
Right.
And so you'd be like, man, I've gone 18 days straight. And then as soon as you would fall off the streak, you'd be like, and then you'd go 2 weeks without running because you lost your mojo.
Yeah.
And, it's one of those things like, no, I'm not going to say how many I'm going to do. I'm just going to make this time an important time that I protect.
I like it. Yeah, I mean, I hope this kind of sparks some ideas in your head. I hope it's something that you can kind of start to really think about, and then not just think about it, but let's put it into action. Let's begin to create those habits, those lifestyle changes that are going to ultimately better you, better your family, better your marriage, your relationship with your kids. Man, start incorporating some of those big six that we were talking about. I'll read them again just to make sure that you guys kind of heard them right. Talking about your big rocks in your life values, your relationships, your health, your faith, your physical needs, and your emotional needs. Like, let's go after those big six things, because again, let's make those into habits and not just setting goals for our faith. Man, what an important ticket item that we need to make sure it's a habit for us, not just a lofty goal.
All right. So hopefully, guys, this will be the start of your 2023 as you hear this and get your brain all keyed up. Start today. Tomorrow's already too late, and I don't say that to disrupt you. I say that make it something that's that meaningful, that you do want to change. You want to get it done now. All right. We want to thank you guys for listening to Strong Dads, and so do us a favor, share our show. If you hear a topic that you think could help somebody, whether it's one of our marriage or parenting or activity shows that we do, share it with somebody. I mean, spread the word, spread the love, and give us 5-star ratings. It helps us just with getting up on the search engines and allow what we believe is important types of material to help make better dads, to make strong dads.
Love it. Thanks so much for Quality Auto Marts and Case Outdoor Solutions for coming alongside of us. Stay tuned, man. We got some good shows planned up for this upcoming year. We hope you guys are getting something out of these, and really do appreciate you guys. Hope you're having a good week, and go out there and be some strong dads.
Casey's is a premier garden center and gift shop located in Lawrenceburg, Indiana. Casey's offers a wide selection of plants, landscaping materials, home and garden decor, and gifts for every occasion. Casey's is committed to providing exceptional service, a unique shopping experience, and value to every customer. Stop in and see what makes Casey's so unique. Located at 21481 State Line Road, Lawrenceburg, Indiana, or call 812-537-3800. Let Casey's help you add beauty to your home.